Hi everybody, this is Bonnie with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I'm really excited to invite you to my crochet along, and we are going to be making the Celtic sampler throw. In this throw there are 12 different stitches that you will learn, many of which I've designed over the years. That includes a lot of larger cabling using the crochet hook. I'm really excited about this one. And I just wanted to let you know up front, this is going to be in 3 installations, 3 different instructional videos. Of course, this is video number 1. And then if you're watching this as the videos are being released, they will be released 1 each week. Okay, so by the end of 3 weeks, you will have all the video instruction that you need. If you're interested in the written pattern and you want to work ahead and work even faster, you can do that. The links for where the written pattern will be available will be in the video description as well. And just to let you know, they are available in my Lovecraft store as well as in my online Etsy store. I'm also going to have a Facebook page available if should you be interested in interacting with other crafters who are also working on this project at the same time. I will check in there as often as I can to try to answer any other questions that might come up during the weeks as this crochet along is released. In just a second, I'm going to show you the yarn that I'm using and the crochet hooks, etc. Should you want to use a smaller size, let's say a DK weight yarn, you are free to do that. Just be careful that you adjust your hooks so that they match the yarn that you're going to be using. Well, let's go ahead and get started. For this project, I'm going to be using Paintbox yarns, Simply Aran, and just some of the stats. This is a worsted weight yarn, 3.5 ounce, 100 grams per ball, 201 yards, 184 meters. This is 100% acrylic, and the number of balls that I'm going to be using for this project will be right across the bottom of the screen. And just for the record, the color that I'm using is color number 207. It's also referred to as vanilla cream. For this project, I'm recommending that you have 2 crochet hooks. The primary hook is going to be the I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter, and I'm suggesting you have a smaller size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeters, and a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors handy. To begin, we're going to start with a slip knot and a starting chain of 192 chains. For row 1, we're going to start by working a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to work a double crochet in each chain all the way across. You should have a total of 189 double crochets. That's not including the chain once you complete this row. After completing 189 double crochets, we're going to turn to work row 2. We're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the first stitch, and then we're going to work front post, double crochet, and then a back post, double crochet. And if you've never worked these before, let me slow it down and explain a little bit. We wrap our hook, we're just going to make a double crochet, but instead of working in the top loops, we're going to work our hook around the body like you're giving the stitch a belt. Pick up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, just like you would a double crochet. For back post, we come in the back door from behind, and the hook goes around the body of the stitch. Pick up that loop, and then you complete the double crochet, and it's going to be on the back side. So we're going to do this. We're going to repeat the front post and the back post a total of 4 times, or over 8 stitches. So this would be stitch 5, this is stitch 6, this is stitch 7, and this is going to be stitch 8. So let me pause and let's look at this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches. After that, we're going to work a 4-post cable, and we work this by working a front post treble crochet. And what we're going to do is we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. We're going to work a front post treble in this stitch and in the next. Now, working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to work front post trebles here and then here. That's the first one, and here's the second one. So this is essentially a 12 stitch repeat with the 8 front and back post double crochets, followed by a 4-post cable. I'll work this with you again. So we're going to start with a front post in the next stitch, and then a back post. We're going to repeat that 3 more times over 8 stitches total. And this is stitch 7 and stitch 8, but I'm going to double check. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches. Now it's time for another 4-post cable. We prepare for a front post treble stitch. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble, and the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches we just worked, we're going to front post treble here and then here. Okay, and that is going to be your repeat all the way across the row. Row 2 ends by working front post double crochets followed by a back post double crochet over those last 8 stitches. This will be 5 and 6, 7 and 8. In the turning chain, we're just going to work a half double crochet. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. So as far as the groupings here, we have including the 4-post cable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, plus 8 additional stitches. You still should have 189 stitches total. So let's go ahead and chain 2. And for row number 3, we're going to skip that first stitch. And again, we're going to work 8 post stitches, starting with a front post, then a back post, front post, just like we did in the last row, back post, front post, back post, And again, front post is a stitch number 7 and stitch number 8 back post. Now as we work over the 4-post cable, we're just going to work 4 back post double crochets over that section. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is going to be your repeat all the way across. When you get to the end, when you get to the end of the row, we're going to work those 8 post stitches at the end, front post, back post, etc. And then a half double in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row number 3. This is what you should have after completing 3 rows. Now for rows 4 through 9, we're going to repeat rows 2 and 3 a total of 3 more times. If you need to go back to where row 2 begins, go ahead and look at the bottom. I'll put a little time mark there, and you can re-watch rows 2 and 3 should you have need. This is what you should have after completing 9 rows. Isn't that lovely? All right, now for rows 10 and 11, we're going to work what is called the low front ridge. So let me go ahead and back this out. To start the low front ridge, row 1, we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the first stitch. This isn't going to change the stitch count, however, because the row that we're going to work now is not going to really have an impact on the stitch count. So we skip that first stitch, and working only in the front loop, we're going to work slip stitch. This is going to make a small low ridge. So slip stitch. So go ahead and work this all the way across the row. Again, working only in the front loop. So go ahead and work a slip stitch in the turning chain. We're going to chain 1. After completing that row with the slip stitch worked only in the front loops, we're going to turn, and I have changed to the size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter. This is very, very important. And the main reason that we're doing this is whenever you work cabling or ribbing or whatever, you get a little bit of compression, which means it pulls in the stitches a little bit. And if we just worked a straight row of single crochets after that, then that would not be very compressed and it would stick out. So this is an effort to make the stitches as even as possible. And we're going to work only in the remaining stitches. We're not going to be working in the turning chain. And working in that remaining loop, we're going to work single crochets in each stitch all the way across. So go ahead and work those single crochets, and what will happen is it's going to accentuate this ridge even more, leaving a beautiful border for the next stitch that we will be working. So this is what you should have after completing 11 rows, and you can see how this ridge stands out. And again, this is row 1 of the low front ridge, and this is row 2 of the low front ridge, but in the actual pattern this will be row 10 and 11. Okay, not trying to be confusing, but just trying to be clear. Okay, so now we're going to begin the groundwork for the knurl stitch. But before we work the knurl stitch, we need to work another row of single crochet. So keeping with the smaller crochet hook, chain 1, and we're just going to single crochet 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. Do not work in the turning chain. We're going to maintain the same stitch count. So this is what you should have after completing that row of single crochets. Now for row number 13, we're going to begin the knurl stitch. The stitch has other names too, such as the crab stitch and the reverse single crochet. It's a little bit tricky, but if you take it slow, you should be able to accomplish this. Okay, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work only in the front loops. And you notice I'm going to be working from left to right if you're right-handed, or right to left if you're a left-hander. So it's working the opposite direction that you normally work. So I'm going to skip that first stitch, but just like the low front ridge, it's not going to affect our stitch count, because the stitch count that's going to count the most is the row that we work after this, which is going to be worked in the remaining loop of the yarn. I know I'm giving you a lot of information, and I am going to demonstrate this. And yes, we are still using the size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter hook for this stitch. Okay, again, skipping that first stitch, I'm going to bring my hook up into that second stitch, grab the yarn, yarn over, and pull through 2 stitches. Doing the next stitch, yarn goes up into that front loop, pull the yarn down, yarn over, pull through 2. Now I am doing something kind of subconsciously, and I'm going to explain it. I'm holding on to this loop with my thumb. So holding on to that loop with my thumb on the hook, put the hook up into that next loop, pull the loop. Notice I'm still holding on to that loop with my thumb, yarn over, pull through 2. And this will help keep those strands even as you work in the opposite direction. And it's going to leave a nice raised stitch there. And we're going to do this 2 different times. So go ahead and work this all the way across, again working up into that first. You pull the yarn away so you see those 2 stitches, the 2 loops rather of the stitch. Just the front loop goes up, hold on to that loop with your hand, pull the yarn through. Well, let's try that one again. Edit this part out. So doing that again, we hold on to that loop with our thumb, hook goes up into that first loop, pull a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And you can just take this nice and slow. There's no race to get this done in a particular time. The most important thing is, as long as you're having your tension held normally with your non-dominant hand, and just take your time on this. But again, this can be just such a beautiful stitch. Now, if you don't want to use this stitch, you can just skip on ahead to the stitches that follow after this if you don't want to have this as a border, and I think it would still be fine. But I do think it's worth the time to learn, because this is such a great stitch to have in your crochet toolbox. All right, so go ahead and finish that row. Okay, I'm going to work the last couple of stitches for you. We have, before I do that, there are 2 loops left to work in. Again, like I said, we're not working in the turning chains. Work that last knurl stitch, and then in the last stitch we're going to work a reverse slip stitch. So we put our hook up into that loop, pull the loop through, pull the loop through the loop that was on our hook. You can give it a little bit of a tug there to kind of secure that loop, and then we're going to chain 1 for row 14. And what we're going to do for row 14 is work in that remaining loop. If you're not sure where that loop is, you can look at the back side and you see the loop here, 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 etc. So we're just going to work a single crochet working in that back loop. And yes, we're still keeping the size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook. I'll let you know clearly when it's time to switch out again. Okay, so we're just going to work single crochets in that remaining loop. You can see the loop right there, and I'll go ahead and turn this around for you again just to try to be extra clear. You can see the remaining loops, and that's where we're working those single crochets. So go ahead and finish that row. In an attempt to be as clear as possible, I'm going to work the last 2 stitches, 1, and then the last one is right here towards the end, or at the end. So if your stitches look like you've missed one, you probably did. So this is what you should have after completing row 14. And just to be extra clear, I'm going to start the next row for you, which is a repeat of row 13, and then you'll again repeat row 14 again. That'll take you to 16 rows. So remember, we're skipping the first stitch here. Go ahead and bring the hook up, down, over, and through. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So in the next stitch, we bring the hook up, down, over, and again, if you want to hold on to that loop that's already on the hook, bring the hook up, just like so. So go ahead and repeat that row, and again, just to be extra clear, we're still using the size H hook, so go ahead and work rows 15, and then 16 is the row coming back with the single crochets, and after that I'll show you how to proceed. This is what you should have after completing 16 rows. And so now we have 2 of the knurls. Of course, that took 4 rows of crocheting. And again, let me just show you the reason that we are switching to the smaller hooks for these is it just kind of brings it in so that it's not, you know, expanded on that side. And of course, blocking at the end will help alleviate a lot of issues that may come up in the process of crocheting. All right, so now we're going to turn for row 17, and this is another easy row. We're just going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet in each stitch across. So again, the stitch count still should be 188 stitches, and just go ahead and continue on with those single crochets. Now for rows 18 and 19, we're going to repeat rows 10 and 11. That would be the low front ridge, which would also be low front ridge rows 1 and 2. Now, in order to do it the same way, what we're going to do is we're going to switch back to our size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. So this is only going to be for row 18. So again, skip that first stitch. Again, this has nothing to do with changing our stitch count and working only in the front loop. We're going to slip stitch all the way across, and then once we complete that row, we're going to switch back to the H hook. Don't forget to switch back to that H hook, and then we will work the row which would be row number 19, which is bringing the single crochet back, and again, as we've done before, worked only in the remaining loop. So go ahead and work rows 18 and 19. This is what you should have after completing 19 rows. Just give you a view of the edge there. Okay, so now for row 20, we're going to begin the foundation of another stitch or cable pattern. This is called the wheat stitch, and we're going to intersperse one of my favorite stitches. It's kind of a background stitch called the wattle stitch in between. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to chain 1. Actually, let's go ahead and chain 2. We're going to need that for turning. Okay, so starting in that very first stitch, we're going to work a single crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet. Skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then the next stitch, again, single crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet. Okay, so now we're going to skip 2 stitches again, 1, 2, and again, that's part of the wattle stitch having some space. So we skip these 2, and the next 3 stitches, we're going to work the foundation for what we're going to turn into a wheat stitch in 2 rows from now. Okay, so we're going to work a front post double crochet, 1, and again I'm going around the stitch, not in the stitch, so that's 2 and 3. After that, we're going to work a half double crochet into the top loops, just like that. And then we're going to work that again. Front post double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Half double crochet in that next stitch. Let's go ahead and pause. So what we're doing is we're making these columns that we're later going to cross. Okay, so we're going to do that again. Front post double crochet, and let me go ahead and pull this one out. Okay, so just show you that I worked in the top loops of this stitch, and now I'm going to work around the body of the next one. It looks like it's a little bit close, but it is the correct one to work in. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. And half double in that next stitch. And then we're going to do that one more time, but just the 3 front post double crochets. 2 and 3. So let's go ahead and pause and take a look at what we have. So we had our 2 wattle stitches. We have 3 front post doubles, a half double, 3 front post doubles, a half double, 3 front post doubles, a half double, and 3 front post stitches. And all the half doubles are worked in the top loops. The others are post stitches. Now after we do that, we're going to work 1 wattle stitch, which is single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2 for that wattle stitch, and then we're going to repeat this all over again, and I will work that with you the second time. So we skip those 2 for the wattle stitch again, and then we're going to, you can see where I've joined another skein of yarn. So we're going to work 3 front post double crochets, half double in the next stitch, worked into the top loops, and again we're going to do that 2 more times with 3 front post double crochets, and then a half double into the top loops for that next stitch, and just pause. So you see the wattle stitch here, and then you see 1 column, 2 column. We're going to have 4 columns for each of these, the base of these cables. So again, 3 front post double crochets, half double, and then 3 more. We don't put the half double crochet after the 4th column, if that makes sense. So let's stop and see. We have the wattle stitch, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post. We do not do a half double, but instead in the next stitch we work a wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And so this is pretty much what we're going to do as we work across this row. And don't forget that after you work each wattle stitch that you're going to skip 1, 2 stitches, okay, before you begin the next front post double crochet set. All right, so go ahead and work that across, and I'll show you how the row ends. After working across the row, we're going to end with 2 wattle stitches. So working in that very next stitch, we work that single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, which again, those 3 stitches together are a wattle. Skip the next 2, and we're going to do that again. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, skip the last 2 stitches, and then we're going to work a single crochet in the turning chain. So let's go ahead and check, because this is very important. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one cable. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm counting the grouping of 3 columns. So that's 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 3. And again, wattle stitch in between these. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 with a wattle stitch. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you're going to have 10 bases for what will become the large wheat cable. Now, if you don't have that, it's probably a math error. So you can go back and double check that. Make sure that you skip the correct number of stitches after the wattle stitches. Maybe check the half double crochets. Make sure that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 groupings. This is a 15 stitch motif here for the cable bases, and then you should have 3 stitches after that for the wattle stitch. So after double checking that, we're going to go ahead and turn, still using the I hook. We're going to be using the I or 9 hook for a while. Okay, so now for row 21, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip that single crochet and the double crochet, and working only in the chain 1 space that you created with the wattle stitches, we're going to work another wattle, which is single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then we're going to skip that single crochet, the double crochet. Now, in the written pattern, it's not going to say skip this, that, and the other thing. It's going to say simply work in the next chain 1 space, which is right here. So that just simplifies it all. As you know, the videos are just an expansion of what is written. All right, chain 1, double crochet for another wattle stitch in that chain 1 space. Okay, now we're going to start working back post double crochets. Be sure that you're skipping this single crochet, which again is part of that wattle stitch. I know this is over instruction here, but I'm going to risk it. Just make sure when you're working in those wattle stitches, don't work in the other 2, the single crochet or the double crochet, unless specifically instructed to do, which you may be instructed to do as you're transitioning from the wattle stitch to something different in some of the future instructions. All right, so we're going to work back post double crochets over these next 3 stitches. Again, we're just building upon this foundation. We're going to work a half double crochet, working in the top loops of that half double crochet. And that's pretty much what you're going to do with all the half doubles, unless otherwise instructed. Okay, so back post double crochets in the next 3 stitches. Half double into half double. Move this around a bit, and we're going to do that again. 3 more back post double crochets, half double in the half double, and again, just remember the 4th time we don't have that half double after we work the 3 back post double crochets. Okay, so let's go ahead and pause and I'll show you what we've done so far. Okay, this was the wattle stitch from the end. 3 back post, half double, 3 back post, half double, 3 back post, half double, 3 back post. Again, I'm taking a lot of time because this is the repeat. You get to the wattle stitch. Again, go right for that chain 1 space only, and we work another wattle stitch in that space. Okay, and then we're just going to do that again and again. 3 back post, half double, 3 back post, half double, etc. You're going to be doing this a lot. Let me go ahead and show you what this looks like from the front side. So when the front side is facing, you can see we're building up these columns, and the next row we are actually going to cross them, and you'll start to see the formation of the large wheat cable. So go ahead and finish row 21. At the end of row 21, working in those wattle stitches, again, find the chain 1 space. It should be a pretty large opening, and work wattle stitches. So we start with 2 wattle stitches and we end with 2 wattle stitches. And then we're going to single crochet in the chain 2 space. Okay, now let's go ahead and turn and see what we have. So you can see the columns of 4 and separated by wattle stitches. Okay, now for row 22, this is the row where we are going to cross the cables. So let's go ahead and get those 2 wattle stitches. Start with the chain 2, working only in the chain 1 spaces of the next 2 wattle stitches. We work new wattle stitches. And find the chain 1 space over here. Okay, so now I'm going to work what is called a back cross over these 2 columns, and then I'll work a front cross over these 2 columns, and you'll understand once I do these. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is skip these first 3 stitches. I'm going to work a half double in the half double. Okay, now I'm going to wrap my hook twice because I'm going to work front post treble crochets in each of these 3 stitches, starting with this one. So treble, front post treble. It's just like the front post doubles, except it's working a treble crochet as a post stitch. Okay, so now you have the half double in those front post trebles. Now what we're going to do is a little bit tricky, so let me explain it and then I will do it. We're going to work behind these 4 stitches that we just worked, but we're going to work front post trebles here, here, and here, and we do that coming into this back hole here. So we prepare our hook, come into this opening here, and then I'm going to work a front post treble. Now it might be easier if you pull the work down like this. Just, you can pull all that down. Locate the stitch. I'm using the nerve endings in my thumb and my tall man finger to locate this. Let's go ahead and back this out again. So, okay, so I'm coming in, locate the stitch, then I'm directing my hook around that stitch, and then I complete the front post treble. We're going to do that 2 more times. Wrap it twice, coming into this large opening here, locate the stitch with my fingers, as the old phone book, for those of you who know what a phone book is, used to say, let your fingers do the walking. Well, let your fingers do the finding here. So find the next stitch, still coming into that large opening here. And this is a little tricky at first. I know it's a bit cumbersome, but once you develop some muscle memory in your fingers and you understand what you're looking for, it will go more smoothly. So honestly, I think the back cross that we just worked here may be the most challenging thing that you do in this entire project, and I am not kidding. So if you can learn to manage the back cross and what I'm about to show you next, which is the front cross, you're going to be pretty much home free. So half double in that next space. So now to begin the front cross, we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that next half double. And let me show you what this looks like right now. It doesn't look very good. Okay, it looks kind of strange. So if you're doing this and you're like, wow, that looks really odd, hang with me, we're not done yet. Okay, but this is correct. Now we're going to work front post trebles in the next 3 stitches. These are the front post stitches, or they were worked as back post last row, but they appear as front post to us now. Okay, so we worked front post treble crochet in those 3 stitches. Now this is on the easier side of things. We're going to prepare for more trebles, And we're going to work front post trebles here, here, and here, but working in front of these stitches. So we just come across. It does feel like you're coming across quite a large distance when you first do this, at least. That's 1, and this is 2 front post treble, and this is the 3rd front post treble. And then we're going to work a wattle stitch in that next wattle stitch, just like that. And let's take a look at what we did. All right, again, it still doesn't look like a whole lot, but once we work a couple more rows, it will. So this is a back cross, which means you work in back of the stitches when you come to cross this. And this is a front cross, meaning that it crosses in front. And again, the front crosses are the easier of the two. So we're going to work a back cross and then a front cross so that it opens like this. And that's going to just be the way this cable works continually. So let me go ahead and I'm going to work this for you one more time on the slow side. Skip 3 stitches, half double in that next half double. Front post trebles in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. Now, like I said before, we're going to work a back cross first. We're going to come in behind those 4 stitches that we just worked. We're going to work a front post treble here, here, and then here. And again, using those nerve endings in your fingers to find. And if you want to put, once you found it, you can, push the bulk of this yarn down. Okay, so find the next one, which is right here. And sometimes it helps to maybe poke your thumb up a little bit into that opening so that you can see and feel what you're doing. And then the 3rd one coming in, and this is the 3rd stitch right here. Again, this is a bit challenging, so if you need to practice this a little bit, it's okay. And mistakes are allowed, and that goes for here and throughout this project. It's all a learning process. Okay, half double in that half double. So now to work the front cross, we're going to skip those next 3 stitches. We're going to work a half double in that half double, working in the top loops. Now we're going to work 3 front post double crochets. And the easy part now, working in front of those 4 stitches, we're going to work front post trebles here, here, and here. Okay. It's 1, 2, and 3. And in that wattle stitch, we work in that chain 1 space, we work a new wattle stitch. You'll be very familiar with these stitches when you're done. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have. So you see how it opens like this. It kind of opens like a weed stalk. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row. So at the end of this row, we're going to work 2 wattle stitches in those chain 1 spaces and a single crochet in the chain 2 space. Now, before we go on to row 23, I really think it's important that you go ahead and check to make sure that these cables are going in the direction that you want them. They should be opening up. Just do a quick visual double check on all of these as you go across. It's not going to be time wasted, I promise you, because if there's a mistake in the way they are turning, then you're going to want to find that now, not in 20 rows later. How would I know that? Have I ever done that? Maybe. So just take it from one who's done plenty of ripping out to go ahead and do a quick check. And I recommend this Every time you cross cables on any of the rows that we're going to do in this project, just take the time to double check to make sure that it looks like you want it to be. Okay, so now we're going to turn to begin row 23. And as we've done in the last couple of rows, start with a chain 2, and we're going to work waddle stitches in those next 2 chain 1 spaces. Okay, once we do that, we're now going to be working back post double crochets over these cables that were crossed, and you're going to want to do it in the order that these V's on the stitches appear. So don't try to grab the stitches down here. These should be the stitches that have crossed on top. These are the ones that we're going to start with. Okay, and you can feel those with your nerve endings in your fingers and thumb. Okay, so we have 1 back post double crochet, 2 and 3. Now this is what's different about this row. Okay, now where the cables have crossed, so in between that last stitch and next stitch, is not working in a stitch directly, but in between where they cross, this is, you should be able to stick your fingers in there, lots of space. Work a half double crochet in that space. Very important. This is helping to define the stitch. And then after that, back post double crochet in the next 3 stitches. And for you mathematicians who are paying attention and thinking, oh my goodness, we just added a stitch to our stitch count. Yes, we did. But we're also skipping this half double crochet so that mathematically they cancel out, thereby maintaining our constant stitch count. Okay, so let's go ahead and work a half double into the top loops of that half double. So we skip this half double, and then we work in the one that's kind of in, well, it's in the between where these 2 cables have crossed. Now we do this on the other side. 3 back post double crochets, and you can see in between where these cables crossed, where these columns were crossed, in between that last stitch and next stitch, we work a half double crochet again. And again, we will be skipping a half double, although you may not see that half double that we're skipping, but just trust me on this, the math does work out. And then 3 more back post double crochets. I know this looks like a lot. I'll show you just a bit. And then we work a waddle stitch in that waddle stitch. Okay, so from the back side, it doesn't look like a whole lot. But if we turn and look at the front side facing, you can see that this is helping to define what we're doing a whole lot. Okay, so let's go ahead and I will do this one more time for you, because I know for some of you this may be the first time you're seeing these stitches. And by the way, if it is and you need additional stitch support, I'll be sure to put a playlist in the video description for various stitches. All right, so let's go ahead, work 3 more back post double crochets. Again, these are the ones that are crossing on the top. They'll be the very next V's, you know, the top of the stitch that looks like a V. All the tops of the stitches look like that, but anyway, just to help you with the order. So we have 3 back post double crochets, and then working in between that last stitch and next stitch, we put a half double crochet in between where those 2 columns crossed, and 3 more back post double crochets, again skipping this half double but working in the central half double. I'll just call it that because it's in between these 2 columns of crossings. All right, 3 more back post double crochets, and again in between where these cables crossed, columns crossed rather, forming a cable cross, but whatever, half double, and then 3 more back post double crochets. And get to that waddle stitch, working in that chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet to form a waddle stitch. So go ahead and work this across. When you get to the end of the row, go ahead and work the 2 waddle stitches and a single crochet in the chain 2 space. This is what you should have after completing 23 rows. Okay, now for row 24, it's going to be very easy and very similar to what we've already done way back here down on this row. Okay, so we're going to chain 2. We're going to work in those chain 1 spaces, work those 2 waddle stitches, and after that it's going to be fairly easy. We're just going to work front post double crochets in the next 3 stitches, half double in the half double, which is right there. Maybe remember working into the top loops, and then there are 3 more post stitches. They're hiding behind, you'll have to find them. Work front post double crochets in those 3 stitches, half double in the next half double, and then we do it again. 3 front post double crochets, half double in the top loops of that next half double, and then 3 more front post double crochet. We're just going to be growing these columns really for the next 2 rows. We get to the waddle stitch and work in that chain 1 space by working another waddle stitch, and that is pretty much what we're going to do for row 24. When you get to the end of row 24, again waddle stitch, and then a single crochet in the chain 2 space. So go ahead and finish row 24. This is what you should have after completing 24 rows. All right, so now for row 25, this is going to be rather straightforward. Again, a similar row that we've already worked. We're going to chain 2 and working in those waddle stitches in the chain 1 space, go ahead and work those waddle stitches. I am speeding up a little bit. I hope that doesn't bother you too much. If it does on these repeats, I do have a solution for you. If you look at the top of the screen right around here, if you're using a cell phone, there is a vertical dot, and you can just click on that and it brings up a replay speed, and you can actually slow it down. If you're getting bored, you can speed it up. And you're going to have to look in the, I think, the lower right hand corner on the typical computer. It'll have a little icon that looks like a gear, and you will just click on that and it will bring up the same playback menu, and you can adjust the speed. Okay, so after those 2 waddle stitches, we're going to work 3 back post double crochets, and then a half double in that next half double, and we're going to do that a few more times. 3 back post double crochets, half double and a half double, and again 3 back post double crochets, half double in the half double, and then the last time it's just 3 back post double crochets, and then working in the waddle stitch. single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, worked in that chain 1 space. This is what it looks like with the side facing that you're working on. When you turn to look at the front side facing, it will look like this. So go ahead and work this all the way across, and as I've stated before, at the end of the row, wattle stitch, and a single crochet in the chain 2 space. So go ahead and finish row 25. This is what you should have after completing 25 rows. I hope you're enjoying this. Now we're going to repeat the last 4 rows. That's rows 22 through 25. 22 is where we cross the cable. 23 is working the row that works with the back post double crochets with the half double in between the columns that were crossed, then a row of front posts, and then back posts. That repeat would be rows 26 through 36. You're going to repeat rows 22 through 25 2 more times, then repeat rows 22 through 24 once more. Look across the bottom of the screen. I will put the time mark where row 22 begins, and you can watch that 2 more times if you have need. But we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and work this off camera, and that will bring us to row 37. So go ahead and work those rows. This is what you should have after completing 36 rows, and you can see how the large wheat cable opens up, and the wattle stitches in between that just kind of help to define these columns. Okay, now we're going to work another repeat where we come back and work the back post, but we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be transitioning back to another border after this row, and what we need to do is eliminate the wattle stitches in order for us to do that. So let's go ahead and turn. Now for row 37, we're going to chain 2. Now we're going to discontinue the wattle stitches. So every time where you see a wattle stitch, I want you to do what I am going to do next. Working only in the chain 1 space. So we skip to those chain 1 spaces. We're going to work 2 half double crochets, and then in that single crochet right next to that, a half double crochet. So we're changing that wattle stitch into 3 half doubles. So again, skip that double crochet, work 2 half doubles in the chain 1 space and 1 in the single crochet, and then when you get to the other stitches across the row, just work as you normally would, the back post double crochets over those post stitches of the cabling, and when you get to the half doubles, you just work a half double into the top loop. So what this is going to do is this is going to even out the stitches for the border stitches that we're going to use next. So for rows 38 and 39, we're going to work the low front ridge. So let's go ahead and take a look. So this is row 37, and you can see how this evens up the stitches. And so what we're going to do after completing row 37, we're going to work again the low front ridge, rows 1 and 2. So I'm going to go ahead and give you an assignment. So go ahead and finish this across again. Every time you come to a wattle stitch, like you'll have a single wattle stitch in between the cables, you're going to work, you're going to skip the double crochet, 2 half double crochets into the chain 1 space, and then 1 into the single crochet. Be sure that you have 3 half doubles worked for every wattle stitch in the row. At the end of row 37, I've worked the 2 half doubles in the chain 1 space, 1 in the single crochet. I've done that twice. I am leaving the turning chain unworked. You should have a total of 189 stitches at the end of row 37. Okay, now for row 38, we're going to return to working the low front ridge again. And I'm going to work this with you just a little bit at the beginning of this row and the next row, because we are going to be changing the hook size after we complete this row. And I don't want to forget to tell you that, and I don't want you to forget either. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and working only in the front loops. We're going to skip that first stitch, and starting in the second, just work slip stitch, work the slip stitches in the front loop only all the way across the row. So I've worked that low front ridge in the front loop only all the way across. Note that I did not work in the turning chain for this particular row, and we are maintaining our stitch count of 189 stitches. Now before I work row 39, I'm going to do something very important. I'm going to change from my size I hook to my size H hook, which is one size smaller. And again, this is to kind of compress the size of the single crochets, because if we work these with the other hook, it's going to make that section of the throw larger and wider than the sections that have the cabling. So anyway, let's go ahead and start this row with a chain 1 and working in all the stitches. Make sure you don't forget the very first stitch. Again, we're not working in the turning chain, but we're working in the remaining loop of these stitches, and we're just going to work single crochets all the way across. So go ahead and work that row, and the next row we're going to start a really fun stitch that I think you're going to love. This is what you should have after completing 39 rows, and we're particularly interested in just the low front ridge. We just finished using the size H hook on that. It's time to switch again. I hope I don't drive you too crazy with this, but it's very important that you pay attention to the changing of the hooks just so that the stitching will be even. So now for row 40, we're going to work row 1 of the cable stitch. And the way we do this, we're going to start with the chain 1. Now we're going to single crochet in that first stitch, and this is not really a part of the cable, but the next stitch that we do will be. Okay, so in the next stitch, we're going to work a single crochet. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to single crochet in that next stitch. So let's pause. So you have the single crochet, chain 3, while you skip 2 stitches, and then single crochet in that next single crochet. And I am working through both loops as we work this. Now we're going to turn to have the back side facing, and only working in that one side of the chain. Okay, let's take a look at this chain. So you have 1, 2, 3 chains here. This is the top of the single crochet, and we're only going to work in the left side, this side of the V of that chain. So we're going to work single crochets, 1 in each of those chains. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and now in the next single crochet we're going to work a slip stitch. So slip stitch, and now we're going to turn it back to have the other side facing, but instead of having to turn the whole blanket again, what we can do to make this easier is to bring the yarn to the back side of your work, and then now if we pull this cable down that we just created, we see those 2 stitches that we originally skipped. We're just going to work single crochets in each of those, and the cable is now complete. Let's do that again. So starting from that second single crochet behind the cable, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2 stitches that we haven't used yet, 1, 2, single crochet in that next stitch, Now we're going to turn to have the back side facing us and working in the chains. Now do be careful, don't work in this very first stitch because that's a single crochet. Work in the chains. And we're going to work single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Add into that last single crochet along the row that was worked. We work a slip stitch. And then again, let's go ahead and bring the yarn to the back side of our work and flip back to the front side. You can pull this down, reveals those 2 stitches that we skipped. Single crochet in each of those. And that's what we're going to work all the way across the row. It makes this beautiful raised single crochet cable stitch. So let's do this one more time. 1, 2, 3 chains. Skip the next 2 stitches. 1, 2, single crochet in that next one. Turn to have the back side facing and to work in the chains. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to work a slip stitch in that next stitch, which happens to be a single crochet. Now turn back to the front, bring the yarn to the back side, and you can pull this cable down just a bit, and you see those 2 stitches that were skipped. Single crochet in each of those. And that again is the cable stitch. Go ahead and work that all the way across, and I'll show you how the row ends. At the end of the row, you should have 1 stitch left. We're just going to work a single crochet there. You should have a total of 62 cables, or these cable clusters. All right, for row 41, we're going to turn to work across the back side. And we're going to chain 1 to start. We're going to single crochet in that very first stitch. That was the last stitch of row 40. And so now the goal is to work 3 single crochets behind each cable as you go across. And the way I recommend you doing that is working 2 single crochets in that first stitch and then 1 in the next, and this is the one where the cable was attached. So let's do that again. And I am kind of holding this back with my non-dominant hand here. So 2 single crochets in that next stitch, and then the one where the cable was attached, work 1. I'll do that one more time. 2 single crochets in that next stitch, and the one where the cable is attached, work 1. Okay, and so what that's going to do is that's going to give us further stitch definition on the stitch, and we are sticking with the size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook for this row and the one to follow. And when we get back to working just a single crochet straight across, we will change back. But for now, we're still sticking with the size I hook. So go ahead and work this all the way across. At the end of row 41, we're going to work 2 single crochets into that last stitch, and that will bring us back to our original 189 stitches in a row. All right, so let's go ahead and turn. And remember, we do have 62 of the cables plus 2 stitches on the row before that, which would be row 40. Okay, so now for rows 42 and 43, let's do row 42, which is going to be another working of the low front ridge row 1. We will chain 1, skip that first stitch, and working only in that front loop, work slip stitches all the way across. These stitches should start looking familiar to you because we're going to be working this low front ridge several times in the project. Just makes a nice frame in between all these other wonderful cable stitches. So go ahead and finish row 42. After working that all the way to the end, let's go ahead and chain one and turn. Now for row 43, we are going to change back to the smaller H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook. Again, we're just keeping the stitches, keeping the width of the throw as consistent as we can by doing this. So working in that remaining loop, we're just going to single crochet in each of those remaining loops from that single crochet row, which was 2 rows back. Okay, and again, just to be clear, the stitch count should still remain 189 stitches. Now you would have only had 188 of the slip stitches, but that's okay because that row does not maintain the stitch count. This row does. So go ahead and finish row 43. Okay, so this is what you should have after completing 43 rows. Now, we were using the size H hook. It's time to switch it out for the larger size I hook. Now for row 44, we're going to work the arrow stitch. We're going to start with a chain 3, which does not count as a stitch. And then we're going to skip the first 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work a treble crochet in the next stitch. Now working behind that stitch, we're going to double crochet into those 3 stitches that we just skipped. 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. So let me do this a couple more times for you. Skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, treble crochet in the next stitch. Working behind that treble, we're going to double crochet into those 3 stitches that we just skipped. And if you need to hold back that treble crochet so that you can see those stitches, go ahead and do that. Okay, let me do one more. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, treble crochet into that next stitch, working behind that treble crochet, we're going to double crochet into those 3 stitches that we skipped. And this is what half of that arrow is going to look like. So go ahead and work this all the way across the row. At the end of row 44, we have 1 stitch left. Go ahead and work a double crochet in that space. And again, your stitch count should still be 189 stitches. All right, so let's go ahead and turn. Now with the back side facing, this is for row 45. We're going to chain 3. We're going to skip that first stitch. We're going to skip the first stitch and the next 3 stitches that are like clustered together, those double crochets, and then we're going to work a treble in the next stitch, which you can double check, that should be the treble that you worked the last row. And working in front of this treble crochet, we're going to double crochet in the last 3 stitches that we skipped, again leaving that first stitch unworked. Just like that. And this is what we're going to work all the way across. We're going to skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, treble crochet in that next stitch, which again should be the treble crochet stitch from the last row. And then after that, working in front of this stitch, we're going to double crochet in the 3 stitches that we skipped. Let me go ahead and work this one more time with you. Skip 3 stitches, treble crochet in that next stitch, working in front of that treble, double crochet into those 3 double crochets that we have just skipped. Now let me show you, this is obviously the back side facing, but when you look at the front side, ta-da, you see arrows. So this is why this is called the arrow stitch. And I want you to notice something else about this stitch. Do you see these holes here? I get a lot of people complaining to me saying, oh my goodness, I have these big holes in the arrow stitch. Well, my friends, that is part of the beauty of this stitch, and I think it makes it look really, really pretty. If your holes are big in these areas, that means you're doing the stitch correctly. And yes, sometimes you're going to have a slightly larger gap with the treble crochets. I get a lot of fussing about that too. But this is just the nature of crochet. This is just the nature of what we love to do with our hooks and yarn. So definitely enjoy that. Everything does not, all the holes in the world when it comes to the craft like this do not have to be filled in. And I think when they're not, it just kind of adds a type of beauty. And there's even whole they're lace. There's all kinds of lace designs, and basically knit and crochet lace is based on adding holes to the fabric. So definitely enjoy that. So at the end of row 45, work a double crochet in that last treble crochet from the previous row. Do not work in the turning chain. Now we are going to change hooks. Once again, we're going to change to the smaller H hook, and we're going to chain 1. So we're going to work the single crochets in each stitch all the way across, and when you get to the end of the row, we are going to work a single crochet into the turning chain. Okay, that will maintain our stitch count of 189 stitches. After we do that, we're going to chain 1 and turn and come back the other direction working single crochets. So just to be clear, we're going to be working 2 rows of single crochets using the size H hook. So go ahead and work those 2 rows. This is going to be rows 46 and 47. So this is what you should have after completing 47 rows. I'm going to give you a better view of that. Now for row 48, we're going to change our hooks yet again, back to the larger hook, chain 1, and we're going to work the low front ridge right here, row 1 again. So let's go ahead and starting in that second stitch, we work a slip stitch, again working only in the front loop. So go ahead and work that all the way across. At the end of the row, we're going to chain 1, and we will turn, and then we're going to switch back to the H hook, and we're going to work that single crochet all the way across in the remaining loop, just the way you've done a few times already in this design. So go ahead and work rows 48 and 49. So let me show you what you should have. I hope you're enjoying all the gorgeous texture in this. Now for rows 50 and 51, we are going to change back to the I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook, and we are going to rework rows 40 and 41, which are those 2 rows of the cable stitch. Now if you need additional stitch support, since I've already taught those, go ahead and look at the bottom of the screen, and I will put a time mark where you can go back and re-watch these 2 rows should you have need. So go ahead and work those 2 rows. So just to be clear, as you finish out row 50, just work a single crochet in that last stitch. Then we're going to turn, chain 1, we're going to work 1 single crochet in that first stitch, and then we work again the 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 in the next as you work 3 stitches behind those cables. This is what you should have after completing 51 rows. I'll go ahead and give you a view from the very beginning. And we just finished working that second row of the cable stitch. Now for row 52, we're still using the size I hook. We're going to chain 1 and we're going to work another row of the low front ridge, row 1. Skip that first stitch. Remember, just working in the front loop, slip stitch all the way across. And let me go ahead and give you the assignment for row 53 as well. After we finish this row, we're going to change back to our size H hook, and we're going to work the single crochet 1 in each stitch across. Okay, so go ahead and work rows 52 and 53. Well, I hope you enjoyed following along with video number 1 of the Celtic Sampler Throw. If you did, I would love to hear from you. You can comment in the comment section below. There's also a Facebook page if you're starting this with us at the beginning of the adventure, and you can find the link for that as well. All right, well, see you in video number 2. God bless. Bye-bye.